Lightning strikes, the Vegas effect, and a dying priest. That's the whole homily today. Just wanted to give it to you up front before I give the promo or intro, really. Many of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm Father Eric Wagner. I'm a graduate here of Washington University, graduated in 2005. I was an intern here 2006, 2007 with Christine and a few others around here, Carla and what have you. And then was just ordained a priest back in May. So I am a newbie priest, if you will. And this is my first Advent season. It's really an honor to be here with all of you to celebrate the beginning of this Advent season. So a lightning strike. A lightning strike. I have to begin the homily here really with the story of a friend of mine. He's actually a campus minister over at SLU. And great guy, wonderful, very close friend. He went away, he was away for what do you call it, like a ministry outreach sort of thing in Latin America, helping out mission trip, if you will, for about a week. And as things come to pass, in a week in Latin America, not used to the water, he got sick, you know. And I got a call from him in, what was it? So he had just gotten to Miami. Said, "Oh, Eric," he sounded terrible. "Oh, Eric, I feel awful." I said, "Oh, what's going on?" He explained, "Oh," I'm like, "Okay, you went to Latin America, you got sick. That happens." He said, "Well, I have some more news for you." "All right. Well, my luggage, I have no idea where it's at." So, wow. Well, that's awful. "Yeah, I'm here in Miami. It's somewhere in Mexico, I think. I don't know." So, okay, well, don't worry, whatever. I'll see you. I'll meet you when you get into town. We'll go out for drinks, and everything will be fine. I get a call. He didn't call me that night when he got in. He called me the next day. And I thought it was kind of odd. He said, and he just started laughing, kind of crazy-like. He just started laughing. He said, "You're never going to guess what happened." What happened? My room was struck by lightning. Honest to God, not the house, not the whole house that he lived in, just his room. His room only. I said, I've got to see this. I've got to see this. I'm coming over with some drinks now. Don't worry. We'll calm down. So I went over, and I was completely dumbfounded. Every single thing in his room was charred black. And the room next to him, the room across the hall, the room beneath his, perfectly fine, as if absolutely nothing happened. He had no clothing. It was somewhere in Mexico, or maybe it had made its way to Topeka by then. He sounded awful. Terrible because he was sick. And everything he had otherwise was now absolutely destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. Gone. So, wow. This guy just took a blow. I've never seen anything like this. And we just kind of sat and laughed, had our beers, and then we started to clean up. But the amazing thing was, and I still remember this, I remember the shock of his blackened room, of course, but the thing that really strikes me, continues to strike me, was the help that he received from his housemates, from his family, from his friends, myself, and a number of others. The people who came to his aid before he even got home. Apparently this had happened in the middle of the week while he was gone. In the middle of the week, one of his housemates who was planning on moving out within a couple months chose to do so early, seeing to it that he had a place to stay. Her room was now his. They went and bought groceries for him. They went and got a few clothes. His dad was in town the minute he arrived, ready to clean up. His mom showed up just a few hours later. Friends came from all over the place. Things were ready to go. He had things more or less under control, as much as you can have an exploded room under control within a few hours, a few days, really. It was an amazing thing. It was amazing to see how much his life of service had actually become a service to him. That in a way, his life of service had prepared him for this unexpected moment. That he was really, who can predict? A room destroyed by lightning just like that, in an instant. And yet, this guy had everything really pretty well taken care of by the people that up until then he had pretty well been serving himself. People who got to know him through his ministry, actually. It is what I like to call his life. His life to me is kind of an anti-Vegas effect, right? So step 2, part 1, lightning strike. Part 2, the Vegas effect. We hear about it a little bit in today's readings. Now, you have to go with me on this. The Vegas effect. For those of you who've been to Vegas, and I have to admit, I enjoy it. It's an interesting place to see, but I'm a 9 to 5 kind of Vegas guy. I keep banker's hours when I'm in Vegas, so I see Vegas in the daylight, in the daytime. It's a very different city in the daytime. In the daytime, you get to see Greece, Paris, all of these different countries, all condensed into happy little playground-like sites. You can kind of think to yourself, hey, it's like I visited the world. You know, walk up and down the strip, I've seen the whole world and all of the different casinos. And have a great meal here and there. Maybe you spend about $10 in a slot machine. And that's generally, now you got your intense folks out there during the daytime too, but generally Vegas in the daytime, it's kind of low-key, you know? It's the 9 to 5 crowd. When the sun goes down in Vegas, it totally changes. Totally changes. For those of you who've been there, you know that. You can see, it looks different. It just looks different. All the lights come up, and everybody comes out to play in every sort of way. It's a different city by night. I find Vegas to be an interesting place for that reason. The Vegas effect, as I call it. Because in the morning, in the daylight hours, when you can see how things go, you see, you know what, okay, the city's somewhat fake, it's sort of kitschy, if you will, but it offers some interesting opportunities. We can see what we can do with a desert. As people, as human beings, we can see the amazing effect we can have to transform a place that's basically made for death into something that's really vibrant and alive. And then at night, we can see what we can do with a place that's vibrant and alive. It's really remarkable. I find it one of those cities to learn from. To learn that, you know what, we as people do that too. We're that kind of, we have that kind of propensity, if you will, to live in the light or to live in the dark. Right? That's what our readings talk about today. Live in the light, they say. Choose to live in the light. To do what is right, to transform things for the better. That's what our readings call us to, in a way, this weekend. That's what the beginning of our Advent season is about. This transformation process, this journey that we're on as Christians, to live in the light, to live by the light of the day, to live as my buddy seems to have done quite well, to have chosen the light, to have chosen the better part, to live a good life serving others. Very simple. Choosing to serve others, to help others, so that we're prepared when, heaven forbid, lightning strikes our room and our room only. The people that we've served may be available to us, or those who have seen us serve may be ready to help us, so that one way or another, our service to one another has prepared us to at least contend with those times that aren't so light, because they come, because they will be part of our lives. But our preparation as Christians, and our preparation this Advent season to welcome Christ into our lives, is really about that. A life of prayer and service to others. A dying priest. I live with a dying priest. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer this past summer. Each day it gets worse now. Each day it's a remarkable thing to see. He's a man that should have been the leader of the Boy Scouts. Always prepared. Always prepared. You know the type of person, right? And yet, as he faces death, that remains his concern. I want to be ready, he says. I want to be ready. I've learned that he is. He may still have doubts, he may still have his questions, but I've learned that he is. Because yesterday, his father came over, and he asked me from his bed, because he can barely move, he asks me, "Would you please go get some sausage?" Well, okay, sure, no problem, Father Steve. I'll go get some sausage. I had to check to make sure he wasn't delirious. He reiterated. So I went and cut up a little bit of sausage and brought it to him. I thought, there's no way this man could eat this. Set it down on his bed. He said, no, put it between my dad and I. I want to share it with him. He's done this every time he's spent time with his dad. They always share food with one another. The man has spent his life preparing for this moment, the end of things, his own death, preparing by serving others. How are we preparing this Advent season for the coming of Christ in our lives? A simple service. Could you bring us some sausage? Maybe it's letting someone behind us in line at the grocery store go ahead of us because they have a few less things. They're always surprisingly simple things. How are we preparing for this Advent season?